Hey guys, thanks for watching For the Love of All Things Film. I'm Tanner.
I'm Amanda.
I'm Nathan.
And we are bringing you guys our next little section of the Reddit Top 250 list. We're going to be going through numbers 230 through 211. We're going to start off with a movie that Nathan has seen, that neither one of us have seen, so I'm sure he will be able to tell you about it. It is Glengarry Glen Ross. It came out in 1992. Has Al Pacino in it. Jack Lemmon, which is the guy from the
classic
Grumpy Old Men movies, and that one movie we talked about not long ago on the
Something
previous
Like It
list. Yes, with Marilyn Monroe. Yeah. So what's that movie about?
Well, more or less, I need to watch it again to get every aspect of it. But it's more or less a bunch of just guys in an office setting, and I don't remember exactly what they are.
Isn't it like sales of some
something
kind?
something around
Like,
sales, but.
Yeah.
The part in the movie that is really iconic and why it's known is there's a certain part where Alec Baldwin actually has, it's like a 10 to 15 minute speech more or less involving all of them, and that's the most compelling part of the movie. It's a really good movie. I would say it's probably just worth a watch, like just one time, once or twice, but I wouldn't say it's one of the greatest movies of all time. So it's an odd pick, but I mean it's a good movie and it's got some good dialogue in it.
Yeah, Rotten Tomatoes gives it a 94%.
It's pretty high.
And that's the Rotten Tomatoes score did not compare with the other ones that I saw. Like some of them were more like a 7 out of 10 kind of thing, not necessarily like a 9.4 out of 10.
The dialogue is definitely the best part of the movie, for sure. That's like absolutely why it's there, and also just all those. I mean, you just said Jack Lemmon, Al Pacino. It's got so many people in there.
Yeah, Alec Baldwin, Alan Arkin is in it.
A lot of good people in there.
Does that one have Ed Harris? Or am I thinking?
Ed Harris
okay.
in it too. Yeah.
All right, I wasn't sure if that was the one that he was in or not. But all right, now on to the next one. This one we have all seen. This might be like the first time on the list that we've all seen one. But it's number 229, Silver Linings Playbook. One of my favorites. I really enjoy it. It's from 2012. It has Bradley Cooper and Jennifer Lawrence in it, and Robert De Niro. Basically, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but Bradley Cooper, he comes out of this mental institute because of a tragedy that he went through in, spoilers, losing his wife. Did he lose a kid as well, or was it just his wife?
I don't remember.
It's been a while. But
the wife is the most important.
Yeah, the wife's the most important part, and he goes through trying to cope with getting back into the real world, and then he has mental breakdowns. He meets Jennifer Lawrence, and
it's also a mess.
Yeah, it's also like kind of going through the same situation as him,
with her late husband.
Yeah, with her husband. So it's a really good movie. Like, I mean, I say really good. It's one of those that you could probably watch a few times a year and you really wouldn't get tired of it. I don't think. I enjoyed it. And Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 92%, which I think that's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
I do for sure. What do you think of the movie?
No, I liked it. It's been a while since I've seen it. One of those late nights flipping through. I think it's on Netflix. I think that's where I was looking at it and watched it there. But I mean, I'd like to see it again.
Well, and it was the first chance we really got to see, if I remember right, got to see Jennifer Lawrence in a role other than Katniss Everdeen from The Hunger Games or the chick from Winter's Bone. Yeah. But it was a character that we hadn't got to see her play yet, and she did it very well, in my opinion. And yes, she does. Yeah. Most of her movies are very good. Next on the list is number 228, a movie that I just recently watched, maybe within the last month and a half, Slumdog Millionaire. I had never seen it before. I was surprised with how good that it was. So basically, is he like Indian? Or
who, Danny Boyle?
No. The main character.
Somewhere in...
I think it's like India, and they have the game show like we had here in the States, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, but it's their version of it. And basically, he is going through the questions for the show, and there's some part of his life that he's able to associate with each question, and as you go through the game, you learn more about his past and his life. And there's a lot of issues that come along with him answering the questions correctly. At some points they think he's cheating, and people are giving him the answers, and there's it's got a really deep plot. Like there's a lot of information to absorb.
Because he's from like a real poor community and stuff like that, like the
slums.
slums.
So I mean,
So they don't think he's smart enough to get them all right, and so that's another reason they're thinking he's cheating.
Yeah,
that's probably Danny Boyle. That's the director. That's probably one of his best films. That's the film he's most known for. That and 28 Days Later.
Oh, I didn't know that he did that one.
Also, Sunshine. Those are the movies that he's probably known for, and he's actually directing a new Bond movie. He's the new Bond director, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Is that the 25th one?
Yes, 25th. Yeah, Spectre was 24.
Yeah, awesome. Well, the next one is number 227 is The Jerk from 1979. It's a Carl Reiner film with Steve Martin, Bernadette Peters, and we have not seen this, so I'm gonna let my fearless co-host over here take over.
Well, The Jerk is a classic, and I'm honestly surprised that these two people who are just barely older than me haven't seen it yet. But, I mean, it took me a long time. I didn't see it till the first time a couple years ago myself, but it's from 79, right?
Yes, 1979.
It's just a really, really funny Steve Martin film where he's just pretty much a lovable idiot the whole time, and just going through a lot of really dumb situations, and he's really he's really lucky somehow, and he gets through a lot of this stuff, and it's super funny. It's slapstick as hell, and it's a fun ride. And if you like those kind of movies, that's one of your movies. It's kind of reminiscent of Airplane, and that came out a year later. That's a little bit more slapstick. I don't know. It's hard to explain. I mean, it's kind of like Billy Madison in a way.
Well, and he did it not. It was very much so in the same time frame as like when he was doing Sergeant Bilko, Father of the Bride, those types of movies where they were humor centric. Like you got a little bit of a storyline, but it's mainly to make you laugh.
Yeah,
like
his dog's named Shithead, so like he's like, hey Shithead, come here.
I'm gonna have to save that one for the next dog.
That's so good.
All right, number 226 is also a movie that neither one of us has seen except Nathan has, and it is The Wrestler from 2008. That's a Mickey Rourke movie, and Marissa Tomei is in that one as well.
Yeah, and you get to see a lot of things with her. The whole package. Darren Aronofsky directed that movie, and he is known as a kind of a controversial director. He did Mother last year, which was pretty jarring for a lot of people, but he's done The Fountain. He did Requiem for a Dream, which is really hard to watch as well. And he's did several other movies that I'm trying to think of. Black Swan, which you've seen.
The Natalie Portman movie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And we've seen Mother as well, which I really
we
liked. I liked it a lot.
Yeah, there was a few scenes in there that were definitely graphic and difficult to watch. The story was very well done, though, in my opinion.
Yeah. But as a wrestler, Mickey Rourke is probably my favorite thing he's ever done.
You mean his favorite thing wasn't Iron Man 2?
No, not Whiplash.
The guy with the
Whiplash.
That
no.
one.
But if you're a fan of wrestling, or were a fan of wrestling, because I used to watch wrestling back in the day, back in the early 2000s, where The Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin were around, and this movie is like an homage, and also.
You guys smell that? Do you smell what The Rock is cooking?
Can you smell?
I couldn't resist.
What The Rock is cooking?
Sorry, I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist that one.
But if you know what that whole industry's about, this movie is kind of like this is actually what happens, and this is what kind of the stuff that we think about. Obviously this is fake, but there's a lot of diehard fans who are like, no, this isn't fake. But then it's you kind of see the behind the scenes of it in a washed out wrestler, and that's what Mickey Rourke is. He used to be one of the Hulk Hogan's, the Andre the Giants, the Iron Sheiks. He used to be a big superstar, and now he's just going to circus fairs and doing circuit shows, and kind of just a washed out loser who's really drunk all the time and on a lot of drugs. And that's literally what this. I mean, it's a reality for a lot of these wrestlers, and that's what it's like. That's why it's so intense. It's a really, really good movie.
Yeah, when they get out of that world that's all they've ever known, then what are they going to do after? All right, next one, number 225. I know we've both seen this. I watched bits and pieces of it.
Yeah.
But it is Close Encounters of the Third Kind. It's from 1977, Steven Spielberg film. Has Richard Dreyfuss in it, which is it Hooper? Not Hooper, and I think from Jaws.
Yeah.
The scientist guy. Also, I can't remember her name, and I didn't put it in the notes, and I'm sorry, but the mom from A Christmas Story is in this movie as well. And basically, they have an accidental encounter with the third kind, which is contact with a extraterrestrial species or being of some kind, and like it gives them this kind of like sunburn on like half their body, and then they start having these like telepathic thoughts being put into their head, and it drives him crazy, and he starts doing all kinds of crazy stuff. It basically pushes his family away from him, and it ends up leading him to this location. He had this image, and she did too. They had these images that were in their head, and it was of a place. Like you could, they could paint it, they could draw it, they could make it look identical to what it was, but they didn't know what it was because it wasn't something they had ever seen before. But the thoughts that are being placed in their head by the extraterrestrials lead them to that place by the end of the movie, and it culminates in a big way.
Yeah, and the ending is the iconic part of the movie, and that's where you see a lot of the awesome kind of set design this movie had. This movie for 77, that's the same year as Star Wars, and A New Hope. Actually, they made George Lucas and Steven Spielberg kind of made a deal where they would do one or the other, and you could see the special effects for the time period, and it was really well done. So
yeah, the ending, like without trying to I'm trying not to spoil it too much. Like you like the ending, you like how it all comes together, but for me, it left me with kind of how could he do that just that easy? Because of what happened. Like when you see it, like you'll understand. It's like how why. Anyway, you just gotta watch it. It's a good movie. I would recommend it for sure. The next one, all of us have seen. I've seen it more times than I probably care to remember. It is number 224, The Wizard of Oz from 1939. Obviously, it's a 99% on Rotten Tomatoes, and we all know that the main reason all of us watched it was to watch the little midget hang himself in the background.
All that stuff.
That is all we cared for.
That and Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon.
Yeah,
that's the way to do it. I mean, that's the stuff that everyone wants to watch that movie for.
Right. Well, you'll see, I have I don't know, while yes, I've seen this movie a lot, it kind of holds a special place in my heart because I have a family member that he loves this film, anything and everything about it. He's got like first edition of the book, and I mean, he's eaten up with it. So growing up with him, I grew to love this book and the story behind it and the meaning behind a lot of things that most people don't know unless you have read the book and you've researched it, what the writer was meaning when he wrote all of this. And I mean, it's a very good movie in the fact that, it shows how, there's like the cowardly lion, he's not brave. And then you've got the Tin Man that doesn't have a heart. It's these different things and how they affected them in that daily life, but how at the end they pushed through it and they still became who they needed to be to, I mean, I shouldn't really have to say spoilers. It's from 1939, and it's a staple of like most American pop culture and childhoods. Like everybody knows, it's you got the guy behind the curtain that runs it all. It's not really what you thought it was, and I think it's a very good movie. I would definitely agree with their 99% rating on that one. My opinion, just saying. You guys have anything to say about it?
Amanda?
No, I'm good. It's been a long... I mean, obviously you know what it's about, but it's been a long time since I've actually sat down and watched it. Probably over 10 years since I've sat down and watched it, so it's...
Well, it's one of those from your childhood, like, there's a lot of movies you watch when you're a kid, and you're like, man, I'm going to rewatch that because I loved it when I was a kid, and then you watch it and you're seriously let down. Like, it should have just stayed in your childhood where you enjoyed it, and instead you ruined it by watching it now because you look at it a different way. And The Wizard of Oz is not one of those for me.
It's not one of those
movies. No, at all.
That movie holds up.
It holds up 100%.
If not, probably better.
When you watch
it again and you have a different mind.
It's exactly what Tanner was saying. You don't, as a kid, you don't see all the morals and all the values that they're trying to embed. I mean, it's trying to tell a moral story about how humans are, and that's the big thing about it all. And there's a lot of depth to that story, a lot more than just the surface level, which is, I mean, beautiful Technicolor. I mean, this is one of the first movies that ever had Technicolor. That one, Gone with the Wind, which came out the same year, which I'm sure we'll see in this list.
I'm sure as we get closer to the top of it.
So, I mean, in my opinion, Wizard of Oz is better than Gone with the Wind, but in my channel, I actually said this was my favorite movie from 1939, so I completely agree. Except I think I wish it was a little bit lower on the list, aka higher.
Yeah, I don't feel like it should have been at 224 when we're talking top 250, but we didn't make the list. So on to the next is number 223. Amanda and I have watched about an hour of it, and then we just started it way too late and we couldn't get through it. But it's Hobbit: The Unexpected Journey from 2012. So it's a Peter Jackson film, same guy that gave us, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, which is his favorite trilogy, correct?
Correct.
Okay, all right. I remembered right.
Well, there's a close second trilogy.
The 4 trilogy.
Yeah.
We'll get to that, I'm sure. I'm sure that's on the list. At least one of the 3 films.
Hopefully.
Gotta be. But it's got Martin Freeman, who was just in Black Panther. Yeah. He was like the leading white guy in Black Panther. Ian McKellen's in it. Everybody knows him from like X-Men, that kind of stuff. Andy Serkis is also in this. He was also in the Lord of the Rings movies, and we were just talking about him and how he does some fantastic things. He was also in Black Panther. He was
Caesar.
He was Snoke.
He was Snoke
in the 2 new Star Wars films. He was Caesar in the new adaptations of the Planet of the Apes movies,
which are phenomenal, by the way.
Yeah, they are very good. I've read the book. I don't know a ton about the movie. I'm assuming it follows along somewhat. I'm assuming since there's a trilogy, they break the book up into 3 parts. But the first kind of part of the book is Bilbo. He gets pulled into going out on a quest, an adventure, with some dwarves and Gandalf, and they're going after Smaug, the dragon Smaug, and his gold, and to take back over the dwarves' village, their home, that the dragon kind of took from them. Is that
their kingdom?
Yeah, their kingdom. Is that correct?
Now, okay, so this, I know you haven't seen the trilogy or any. Obviously, these are different parts of it, and this is the first part, and this is about 80% of the movie is correct, and so that's really good. The second movie being about 20% of the book is real, and the rest of it's made up. And then the third one being about 60-40. And so, but this is the one that's probably the most true to the book, and is pretty good. And I had a good time, but it's not the same magic as Lord of the Rings because the CGI, the rushed nature of the film, a lot of the magic isn't there as much, and it's definitely The Hobbit is a child book. It's a children's book, even though I can argue it's a young adult's book, not more of a children's. It's more of an adventure tale. But this movie, I really liked when I first saw it. Wasn't wowed by it completely. I mean, as much as I am a fan of Lord of the Rings, but this movie is really good. And it's just a tale of Bilbo going on an adventure. Hobbits aren't ready for adventures. They don't like adventures. They just like staying in their home. And
hermits.
Gandalf and the dwarves just thrust them into trying to reclaim their homeland, and that's pretty much where it sets off this entire thing. And that's eventually where he gets the ring from Gollum, who is there. So
Andy Serkis's character.
On the way there. So
all right, and the next one I have not seen. They have seen, but I know the gist of it is Brokeback Mountain from 2005. That's Jake Gyllenhaal and Heath Ledger, Joker from Dark Knight. But basically, it's these 2 cowboys that are homosexual, and they're trying to hide it, and they slip away on secret meetings to meet together, and it's kind of like the journey through their life dealing with this lifestyle that is, that's their lifestyle that they're trying to hide from everybody. I think from what I know, that pretty much sums up the movie. I don't know if you guys have anything to add on it.
I was gonna say it's always kind of touted as a Western when it's not really at all, and it's more of a drama / romance film. And the thing is, it's not really too much of it is about their romance, but it's also about their friendship more so, I would say, because the romantic thing that doesn't come until about midway through the film, and it's not really about that per se. It culminates to that point where it becomes that thing, but the friendship level is the main aspect, in my opinion, of this movie. And I think and there's a lot of heartbreak in this movie, and obviously it's a drama and a romance, but they don't feel like they're accepted because they both have wives, and this is over years and years of their life, And so the film is divided between how their wives feel about it, because some of them find out, and how they feel about it, and some of them kind of go away for it, and some of them go towards it, and it's a good movie. I like it a lot.
Yeah, it's one I definitely want to check out. They just haven't had a used copy of it at Entertain Mart for me to pick it up yet. But all right, the next one on the list is number 221. It's called Paths of Glory from 1957. I know it's a military movie.
It's a Stanley Kubrick film. It's one of his first movies. I think it's his fourth movie, but this is one of the first ones that got him into the public's eye. This came out before Spartacus, which is the movie that really got him on the map. And it's a World War II film. It's in black and white, and I have it on my shelf. I'll eventually watch it. But it's a movie that I've heard has certain elements in it that are super iconic.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure we'll all get to it at some point for sure. This is one Nathan's probably watched. Number 220, City of Lights from 1931. Have you seen that one?
That's a Charlie Chaplin film. That's the one where you see him boxing. You've probably seen images of him boxing. That's near the end of the film. It's a really just fun slapstick movie with Charlie Chaplin as the tramp. He's just this character. He just gets into a lot of misadventures, and a lot of the physical comedy is present in the movie. And it actually has a pretty good story, and it's got a good heart too. It's this weird combination of a movie that is down on your luck, kind of talks a lot about society and how things are, especially in the 30s, because that's the height, right at the very beginning of the Great Depression. So it really reflects the society that it is in.
All right, next on the list is number 219. It's Master and Commander. I didn't write down the whole title, but it's from 2003. It's a Russell Crowe movie. We know him from Gladiator, A Beautiful Mind. This is something that I have not seen, but I think you have, correct?
Have you seen it?
No.
Common with this list. Nathan's seen them.
Well, Master and Commander is actually a book series, and one of my best friends is an avid lover of this book series, and he loves this movie too. But this is only pretty much, I think, I want to say 3 books. Don't quote me on that. Combined into one, kind of. It's kind of just this drama of pretty much just sea life during the 18th century in this trading company. And just a lot of this diplomacy and just a lot of those interesting things. I mean, you read about that stuff in Moby Dick. If you read Moby Dick, some people are really interested in it because of certain aspects, but it talks a lot about the whale trading. But this one talks a lot about trading. There's a lot of piracy involved. There's a lot of espionage and just treason, and there's just all these sorts of things. It involves soldiers in the Navy and pirates, and it's just all these cool things, in my opinion, because I'm a lover of history. And so I like this movie, and it's pretty accurate to the stuff that was written during those time periods.
Yeah, that's probably something I'll have to for sure check out, because I also like watching those movies that are all about history, and they're actually historically accurate as well. Which, is this one historically accurate, or does it
more
sway
or
a
less?
little bit?
Yeah.
Perfect. We'll have to check it out. Now, this next one, I can't even say the title.
I'm going to say it.
Nathan's going to take over, but it's number 218.
Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind. This is a Studio Ghibli film.
It's an anime movie for you people that don't know what that is.
It's a Miyazaki film. You've probably heard of My Neighbor Totoro, Spirited Away, Princess Mononoke. Those are the ones that are famous. Kiki's Delivery Service. Some of these ones are a little bit more famous. Nausicaa is one of the older ones. What's it, from 1984? 84, yeah. It's one of the original ones, and it's just super groundbreaking in animation, and this is the stuff that kind of started anime, for the most part. It started this Japanese movement, and it's a really fun adventure story. It's quite generic to today's standards, but it kind of set the groundwork for a lot of things.
Yeah, and we're getting into the anime thing. I'm more into it than she is. I don't know that you've really had a lot of introduction to that category and that genre yet, but it's definitely something we're going to be breaking into to just kind of broaden our expanse of what we watch. The next one is number 217, is the 1968 version of Planet of the Apes. I have not seen it.
I love that movie.
Yeah, I have not seen it. I've seen the new ones. I've heard that the older one, the very first one, is the best of the Planet of the Apes, because I believe there's 5 of them.
Yeah, there's 5
that they did.
Yeah.
I know.
And then there's a television series that came out after that. Yeah.
Right. I know it's a Charlton Heston movie, and I can tell you there's a Statue of Liberty busted up on the beach in one scene, and that's about all I know about the old
That's
one.
kind of the twist at the end. That, it's one of those.
Alert.
Well, everyone knows it. It's kind of.
I don't. That's all I know.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's been parodied on The Simpsons. It's been parodied all over the place.
And that's why I know it. Not because of The Simpsons, but because of in Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, there's a scene where Jay is on the beach like, no! And, the Statue of Liberty head is there. And then there's these two little apes that ride up on horses, and that's...
Spaceballs does it too.
Yeah,
it's really
that's
funny.
true, they do.
But, yeah, it's a really great classic kind of sci-fi.
Well, and I was reading about it, and they took a little different turn on it than the newer ones did. The newer one was like this, this monkey in the current time,
time period,
takes over and raises up this army of other intelligent apes. But in the old one, what I saw is it's this guy. He kind of travels to a distant, not a near future. Yeah, him and his crew, and they see what is going to happen to the planet. It's not like it happens during their actual time.
Well, they don't see what's happening. They hit a specific like force field, a magnetic field or something that just like kind of just throws them off course. They're all like in hibernation, kind of sleeping, kind of like an alien and stuff. And they wake up, and about half the crew is like lost to a certain thing. This is at the very, very beginning of the movie. I'm not really giving anything away. And
don't give it away because I haven't seen it.
It puts them off course. They crash land onto this planet. They don't know what's going on. It looks like Earth. They don't really know what's going on. It's in the middle of like kind of a desert. And then they kind of get out, and a few of them get kind of captured by apes. And that's pretty much where the story begins. And then you get the iconic scene at the end. But there's a lot of stuff in between. It's really, really good. Yeah,
we bought it not long ago at Best Buy. It's definitely one at the top of our list to watch. The next one is also one I have not seen. Number 216, Dog Day Afternoon from 1975. But it had me with the cast list because it's got Al Pacino, and then it's got John and Cazale, or it's something like that. But he played Fredo in the Godfather movies. And then Al Pacino obviously played Michael in the Godfather movies. And those are some of my favorite movies of all time. So I want to see it just for the cast alone. Have you seen this one?
It's on my shelf.
Yeah, it says a man robs a bank to pay for his lover's operation, and it turns into a hostage situation and a media circus. So, I mean, kind of like your typical bank robbery movie. Like, they think they're going to get in, get out, take the money, and then it ends up being this big deal. But I'm sure at some point...
Heat. Probably the stuff that Heat probably made. The movie Heat.
Yeah.
Probably did some things with it.
Yeah. Probably.
Mix between that and gangster movie.
Yeah. But I'm sure at some point, whether we do a video on it, me and Amanda, or Nathan does one, or we all do one together, at some point we'll watch it for something, and you'll hear us talk about it, I'm sure. Next is number 215, How to Train Your Dragon, which is a fantastic movie. Everybody's got to love Hiccup and Toothless. So basically, Hiccup is this kid that he lives in this village, and they get attacked by dragons constantly. So everybody's trying to fight him off and kill him. But he doesn't really want to do that. He doesn't want to kill him. He just wants them to, make him go away. But he tries to impress his dad because his dad's the leader of this village, and he ends up kind of accidentally shooting down like the rare dragon, like the one that nobody can kill because it's super fast and super hard to hit, and he kind of accidentally wounds it, and they end up developing a friendship. They get really close, and it works to their advantage with defending the village from the dragons. They kind of it's a really good movie. Definitely, obviously, it's a kid movie. They did a second one, right?
Which is amazing too.
Yeah, and they're doing another one,
which I'm happy they are.
Yeah, and then they have they made a cartoon series out of it.
I won't watch that
on Netflix. The kids, my kids watched a couple episodes of it. I'll say this way: I watched a couple episodes with my kids, and it was not as good as the movie. There's a few of the same voice actors in it, but in my opinion, it's some of those voice actors that make it such a good movie because of how good they are at acting, and they make it kind of seem like it's a real movie. Like it's got real people in it, not just animation. But yeah, I mean, really good movie. Obviously, we all like it. Now, we're going to move on to one that I don't know if you've seen or not. 214 is Robocop from 1987, the original one with Peter Weller. A lot of people probably know him from Sons of Anarchy. He did like an 11 episode stint in like season 5 and 6, maybe something like that. Such a good movie. Basically, he plays a character, Alex Murphy, who is a police officer in like it's Detroit, I believe, in the future a little bit. Like, and so it's
kind of current Detroit.
Yeah, like current Detroit now. It was future for 1987, but I mean, it's like ran down. It is crime ridden, and the police just can't get on top of anything when it comes to the bad guys and the drug trade and all that stuff that's going through there. And he gets injured. And instead of letting him die, they basically save his head, and they make him a robotic cop, a Robocop, hence the name of the movie. They did a remake of this not long ago. I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is one of the movies that got me into liking movies, because I watch it with my dad all the time, and it's just, I just think it's a really good movie.
Classic
I like
80s.
Yeah, if you like that kind of stuff, I mean, it's going to be action all the way, like everything else was, like your Rambo movies and like your Terminator movies and stuff like that. It has a very similar feel. You know, a lot of big mechanical things and stuff like that going on, and it's kind of cool too to see how, even though basically all that's left of him is his head, you know, he doesn't really know much about himself. But as the movie goes on, like, little things will trigger flashbacks, and he will remember memories and things like that. And they did a couple more of them. I think there's 2 more that starred him in them before they started doing the remakes. But have you ever seen that one, Amanda? No? You'll have to watch it soon. But 213 is one I'm pretty sure you've seen, Battle Royale.
Oh, yeah.
I have not seen it. So
This is the precursor to Hunger Games, because this is where Hunger Games got its idea.
Oh,
it's a Japanese movie from the 90s, right? 95?
2000.
Oh, 2000. I was really close. 2000. Come on. So I actually saw this when I was probably about 13, maybe. My neighbor, who was big into Japanese movies, watched it with me. He's like, "This is a crazy movie," because it's a really, really crazy movie. It's like Hunger Games with a lot of blood and guts, and like just kids killing each other. It's literally the plot of this movie is it's kind of a futuristic Japan where this society more or less is domineering and wants to control certain elements, and they pick this class at random, and they're just like in class one day, and they pretty much all get knocked out by this gas, and actually the first they get knocked out by this gas, and then they get transported to this classroom.
And it's a younger kid, like it's like 9th, 10th grade, something like that, right?
About that age. And they're all like, what the hell's going on when they wake up? And then they get kind of just like, here's what you're going to be doing. You're going to be killing each other on this island. And whoever survives is the winner, and you get your life. You know,
so it's that same kind of last man standing.
Yeah, and they're like, what? And like the whole setup of the movie at the very beginning is just like so amazing, and it takes a long time to like pick up, but like you're compelled the whole time because of just how crazy this movie is, and like just the lunacy involved. And it's the Japanese, and they're pretty lunatic kind of like anyway, because you know, to us Americans, a lot of the things they do are pretty odd.
Yeah, like what the fuck, Japan? Come on.
But I love it. But I think it's great. So
yeah, it's one that's on my list. I'll get there eventually. This one it's not on my list. The next one, I've heard it's not good, but I mean, we'll see if Nathan's seen it. It's number 212. It's Dredd. It's a remake from a Stallone movie, and he was Judge Dredd, I believe, right? And basically, it's set in futuristic times where the police are judge, jury, and executioner. Like, it's a total just police-controlled world, and they can do whatever they want. If they see that you're in the wrong, they can just kill you. It doesn't matter. Very much so, kind of like what we're dealing with in the United States today. A lot of cops taking things into their own hands. But anyway, I have seen
it, and I actually love it. This movie is actually pretty much a remake of a film. It's blanking on me right now. The Raid.
Oh yes, that's a good movie.
That's literally what this movie is. The American version, and it's with.
So like the same concept, like he's like fighting his way down this tower, like
he's going up a tower, trying to get specific people, these drug dealers,
well, now
dead.
I'll watch it.
It's really
now
good.
it's on the list.
But it's also Why am I blanking? What's the name say? Did you write down the actor?
Carl Urban from Lord of the Rings.
I was going to say Carl Urban is Robocop.
And Lena Headey from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, and
Robocop.
She's the villain.
He's Dredd. Yeah. You said he's Robocop.
No, you said Robocop.
No, you said he's Robocop.
Whatever.
Anyways,
Carl
Urban,
to say
Lord
he's
of the Rings.
Aemir from Lord of the Rings.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, and so it's just he plays a really good Dredd. So yeah.
Well, and then like we said, Lena Headey's in it from Game of Thrones. She's Robert Baratheon's wife, and I'm blanking on the name.
Seriously? Now you're making me blank
on the name. She's the sister, that slept with her brother.
Cersei Lannister.
That's right. But okay, now I want to watch it because he said it's kind of like The Raid, and that's a great movie.
All right, The
Raid, the American version.
But and also just a lot of cool effects. The movie's really beautiful.
Next one and final one for this list, or for this video about the list, is number 211, a fantastic movie. It is Catch Me If You Can from 2002. Leonardo DiCaprio, Tom Hanks, Christopher Walken, Martin Sheen, and basically I watched this movie so many times when I was younger. I love it. I don't know how you feel about it if you've seen it. You haven't seen it?
It's on my list,
my gosh, that's right. It is so good. I won't spoil it. I could talk about this so much, but Amy Adams. I believe Amy Adams is in it. Yeah, it's not Isla Fisher. It's Amy Adams. She's in it as well. It's so good. Leonardo,
I know.
His character, he is so deceitful in the things he does, but not in like a bad, well, I guess it is kind of a bad way. I need to stop talking about it before I spoil things for Nathan, because it's one of those movies that it's very difficult to describe without spoiling something. At least I think so. I can't really think of a way to describe it other than Leonardo DiCaprio. He wears a lot of different hats, and he becomes a lot of different people in this.
Okay.
And it's awesome. And it's really cool how it all segues together, how he goes from one thing to the next. It's very, very interesting. A lot of information. Definitely pay attention when you watch it. But, yeah. You liked that?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really good. But yeah, all right. So that's the end of the list. Thank you for still watching. I know it's kind of a long one. These first few are going to be a little bit longer because we're tackling 20 at one time. As we get closer to the list, probably once we break 100, right around there, we'll probably break them down probably 10 at a time. Just because they're going to be ones that when we get to that part of the list, they're going to be ones, that we've seen, that we like more. That maybe all of us have seen. I mean, it's only the second video, and there's a lot more that we have seen than in the first one. Yeah. So, anyway, thank you guys for watching, and we really appreciate it if you stuck with us this long, and stay tuned for the next one.
Thanks.
See ya.
Thanks.